Hello everybody, my name is Dinosaur, and today we're going to be talking about hybrids and milking the juicy cow that is the hybrid war. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is going to be mostly about how to make a hybrid. I've seen so many people try to make hybrids and ultimately fail at doing it. So what I'm going to try and do today is walk you guys through how we actually probably make a hybrid. That's something that Goji Center and Goji Guy have not touched on at all. So I'm hoping to sort of help people out with this video. And if you guys are fans of this video and want to see more, like and subscribe, or else. Well, anyway, how to make a hybrid. We're going for the 3 rules here. So the 3 rules are going to be genome unity, energy consumption, and body plan. So what do I mean by these? Well, let's go through them each by each. So, genome unity. This is basically Goji Center's congruity. It explains the percentage of DNA in your hybrid determines its behavior. So, for example, if you're like half zebra, half lion, its genome's going to be very mixed up. It's not going to know what to do. That kind of stuff. Well, it's not really like that. It's not really how genetics work. What I'd probably term it, probably genetic basing almost. Well, not like that, that's my own made up word, but what I honestly call it is when you take your base, animal you base your hybrid off of, like say Hadrosaur, Tyrannosaur, I don't know, lion, something like that. You get that. And when it comes to limbs, you base that around something very similar to your hybrid, or to the base. For example, if you get a hybrid base, not hybrid, a lion base, do not give it hooves, or say tiny little T-Rex arms in the front. Obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory, but the reason why I do this is the base of your hybrid is going to make up its body structure and brain structure, basically. It's going to determine how it's going to move and how it's going to behave in its environment. The most important way to help it through its environment is going to be its limbs, so legs, arms, tail, head, well, everything bites, so it should be fine with that. So you want to be careful when you're changing limbs, and you got to make sure when you change the limbs, it's going to be very similar to the base animal we used to working with. So if you're giving like a quadruped base, do not give it, say, a bipedal, it's really tiny arms, not tiny arms, but may it go into a more bipedal stance. It's pretty self-explanatory. Or say you got a bipedal animal and put it into a quadruped stance. Its brain structure is not going to be able to help it with that. So everyone's going to get very mixed up. This is pretty flexible in a lot of cases. Those are the main examples I wouldn't go with. So, for example, I'm going to go with, say you got a gorilla base. So let's say we have a gorilla base. Then we only add a T-Rex head. Right? Gorillas bite a lot. It's only enhances its bite force. However, let's add some raptor arms and say a theropod tail. This messes with the genome unity, as gorillas swing their arms around randomly. The claws would be useless, so they wouldn't know, the brain structure wouldn't know how to precisely aim the claws, and probably end up breaking the very fragile raptor arms in the process. The tail, great apes don't know how to use the big tails. This would hinder its movement quite heavily. This is an example of bad genome unity, and as Goji Center would put it, bad congruity. Those are a lot of things. When you have your base, you want to stick the limbs and tail. You want to stick to the base as close as you can to get the best hybrid you can, the most functional hybrid you can. Obviously, other things like head, rest of the body, pretty flexible. Doesn't really mess with congruity that much. But really, you want to stick to the legs, arms, and tail. And do not try to mix up the brain chemistry at all. So that would make it a lot worse. So don't really try and do that. So stick to your body plan, you just stick to it. The habit should be alright. Example is you can add bottom claws to say Hadrosaur build. Still be able to kick with them. So still damage foes with them. Just make sure they're nice and durable so they don't break. And obviously, in some cases, you can add, say, ape arms to, say, cats, big cats like tigers, tiger bases, you know. However, that will probably hinder their running ability, but could, of course, benefit other areas, like strength and grip, you know, really enhance the claws. But you do want to be careful that you do want to stick as close to the base as you can for this. That is super important. Other than that, you should be alright when using the rest of the body, but do try and be careful. Anyway, so for our next category, we have energy or energy consumption. Now, this is the least important category, but still valuable as it does sort of link to stamina, how long your hybrid can last in a fight. So by energy and its consumption, I mean how much a hybrid has going on, how big it is. So obviously, a lot of people put a lot of spikes, horns, venom, poison on their hybrids, and they make them like 20 tons. Try not to do this. I know a lot of people do this, so in a lot of hybrid wars it doesn't really matter too much, but if you want to go for realism, have less things for people to criticize your hybrid about, try and don't do this. This will limit your hybrid stamina of how much stuff, how much energy needs to produce and eat to actually keep going. So it could severely hinder stamina as well. So as this does go up a lot when the hybrid gets bigger. Really big hybrids, so over the 5-ton range, you know. So the most problematic one here is the poisons and venoms. So for like, say example, you got a hybrid with like inland taipan venom, which is like one of the most complex venoms out there for one of the most venomous snakes. This venom takes a lot of energy to produce and keep stored. So for like a really big hybrid you're using this on, try not to do that so much, as that would really dampen your hybrid and really limit stamina, how much it can really produce to kill something. And bear in mind, venoms take a while to kill larger animals, even in large doses. And large doses only really sacrifice your hybrid stamina. So if you want to use venom, or same thing goes for poison as well. If you want to use that, try going for less complex venoms. Less complex structures and all that, like mammalian venoms, like Goji Center's and Dom 2.0 with its shrew venom. Something like that, and that doesn't produce in large quantities. Be just right and just give it the nice edge it needs in a fight. Something like a slow loris as well. The slow loris has not really complex venom, but it does give it an edge in a fight, at the very least. Someone like that will be very useful, and not dampen your hybrid stamina or output, especially if it's very big. So for the final category and the final rule, we're going to go on to body plan. I've got a little diagram here, separating A, B, C, D, and E, for different parts of your hybrid body. Now, before I discuss genome unity, this mostly goes towards, can this creature use its body parts? Now we're going to, should it use it? Or can it use it optimally? So, basically, we're going to start with the body. The body, obviously go off the main stuff like armor, sail like in the diagram, spikes, poisoned skin, you know the drill. So obviously it's going to be based, of course, off your base animal, or whatever you want that to be. And for armor, here's what I recommend. I wouldn't personally use armor, per se, on any hybrids. If you're going for realism and battle realism, don't really use armor. For hybrids like big, thick armor like cat and Dinosaur armor, or large pangolin scales, that limits it, really. If you're going for like a trike build. Trikes need their head as heavy as it needs to be unbalanced so they can turn it at high speeds. And they heavily rely on turning. Armor just kind of limits them in that way. Now, this isn't just for trikes. On animals, bony armor is actually as strong as people think. Contrary to popular belief, Tyrannosaurus Rex could in fact bite through Ankylosaur armor. At least at the back of the jaw. But see, the thing that made it so impressive, and how it was able to survive T-Rex for those times, despite its so slow speed, It's more rounded, sort of flat body shape. That round, flat body shape made it very hard for a carnivore to get a good bite onto it. And so that's what makes the armor so effective, because a carnivore cannot get good proper bites onto an animal. So they have to break through the armor. So armor only really works with your hybrid as a big, round, flat body shape, so like a turtle or something like that. Other than that, you can use thinner armor, like crocodilian scales, or maybe big, thick plumage from birds or something like that. Or use very elastic skin, like honey badgers do, to make it harder for animals to get a good bite onto their softer muscles. All very good, and of course very great ways to use armor. Or don't use armor, just go right into speed, because armor can be overrated a lot of times. You use straight bulk, like sauropods do. Sauropods are so big and massive, their bulk is too big for animals to get a good proper bite around them, and I just bring them down. T-Rex is another good example. Big and bulky, very hard to get for other predators to get a good bite onto them, or the other tyrannosaurs of the time. Spikes or quills is a good alternative, but don't pair this with armor. That could leave gaps within the quills that a predator can very easily exploit. So, manage for the body. And do not infuse the bones with anything heavier than bone, like iron or something like that. It will make it far too heavy. The thing armor is, it makes creatures far too heavy. Especially when you really make them big animals, like 13, 14 tons. Monster Virium. But anyway, away from the body and onto the limbs, B and C. Well, like I said, one giant unity, you want to be similar towards, your base animal. But obviously, you do not want them. Don't add too much. See, claws, boo, I'll be able to go over pad feet. Want to be able to support its weight, Now, another thing is, with giant ground sloth, people help you use that. In terms of realism, they couldn't actually carry that much above their own body weight. They reached a maximum size about 5 tons. People use their build for like 20-ton animals. Doesn't work. Theropods and hadrosaurs and creatures or elephantine creatures very columnar shaped or cylindrical shaped limbs, or creatures you want to go for carrying that kind of weight above the 5-ton range. Ground sloths were very good for their thick and strong bone structure. They were not optimal. Definitely not. As for claws, you want big, thick claws if you want to go for swiping. Especially if you're swiping with a lot of force. Do not exceed. Don't go above the minimum, the force needed, So, for example, Ultimosaurus, Imperatrix, Goji centers of Ultimosaurus hits far too hard for what it is. That thing would absolutely shatter its arms with 600,000 newtons of force. Do not go above that. Creatures can exert bite forces like that. Well, not like that, but very strong bite forces, because it doesn't actually act on the jaw, so it won't actually break the jaw as long as the jaw is pretty thick. For arms, you need impossibly thick arms to actually survive getting hit, because the forces directly acts on the bones. And so no matter how strong thick your bones are, hitting with that kind of force will just break it. Same goes for the claws. So try and limit how hard creatures punches. Which is why you don't use mantis shrimp. And also because, it doesn't really fit well with vertebrates. If you're not using a vertebrate, then if you're using it with something of large size, it doesn't really fit with the arthropod body structure. But anyway, that's what I recommend for that. So don't overcloud the limbs. You want them to be able to move properly. And I think people don't really mention often with limbs, especially, keep them nice and thin. Don't make them nice and big and thick if you want a speedy hybrid. Goji Center's Indom 2.0 is very thick and broad, which is where you see a lot of size comparisons. A lot of real life theropods are very thin. It makes them very aerodynamic. So in reality, Goji Center's Indom 2.0 will be quite slow actually. So keep that in mind. I'm going forward to limbs. And for the tail, same thing applies. Don't put too much in the tail unless you want a big counterbalance to swing it with. So don't put a lot of armor on the body or a big head. So you want that not counterbalance, you want the overbalance on the tail to give it a good swing. Same with the head. So mostly you just want kind of like a general tail, as long as it fits well with the base creature, like I previously gave an example before. Yeah. Anyway, on to the head. Very important part. This comes in bite forces. Now, a lot of people get bite forces wrong and overestimate something's bite force. Talking about a jaw break, obviously. We all know the term hanked, where Hank used Duncolossus and T-Rex bite force. Where Duncolossus is biting fast, T-Rex biting hard, just broke his jaw. Everyone at this point knows not to mix them together. But I don't think people need to miss out on tooth type. What kind of teeth your animal has. Does it fit in the jaw? Also, what kind of jaw structure creature has. So a free example I'm going to give is the three big carnivores. Spinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and T-Rex. So obviously, Giganotosaurus has relatively thick jaws, but nice sharp teeth to cut through flesh. T-Rex has very thick jaws to bite through bone, so they tear open smaller animals. Spinosaurus has very hook-like teeth to basically hook onto animals, especially that little kink in the jaw, the upper jaw. So, recommended do not mix T-Rex together with any of them. Creature with strong bite force, you want to have a big, thick, cuboidal jaw with big, thick teeth like Falcolio, or like hyenas, we got on the screen here. Big, thick jaws, big, thick teeth. Now, another thing you could do with this category thing is you could mix Giganotosaurus teeth with Spinosaurus jaws. So if you care about Spinosaurus jaws, they could break very easily under a lot of pressure. But for those kind of sharp teeth, they won't grab on anything, but the little kink will give it that extra, I suppose, grip. With these very big like teeth to cut through flesh and tear through it, almost like a big hook. A lot of little hooks on it. Very bladed hook. Give it a very nasty kind of weapon. It's a way you can combo that. But strong bite forces, you can need to. Strong bite forces, you need that big, thick skull and big, thick teeth. With lesser bite forces, you can kind of get creative. But do not then you get like fast biting bites of, I guess, smaller jaws. But do not mix it together. Power bite forces are pretty really fixed. Do not mess with the teeth, do not mess with the jaw. Just if you want to have a strong bite force, just mix together creatures with strong bite forces. Because that is probably your best option. I think you could just mix mammalian teeth with Tyrannosaur jaw, really give it that extra bite. Kind of what Go Turns Num 2.0 does. And so this also goes for head decorations like frills or horns or anything like that. Be careful when you're adding that to large bites of all his teeth. That'll make the head far too heavy. A frill is fine, you add a frill. There's add a bit more protection, but however, when you add in like large horns, like rhino horns or tusks or anything like that. The reason most predators don't have horns or anything like that. It's got far too heavy. This also goes for his neck as well. If you have a big, heavy built head, go for a very short, thick neck. Got a more lightly built head, go for a longer but still strong neck. Really help again to more advantageous places. More vulnerable spots of the animal, where it normally would be biting. Now, another thing I'd like to mention, also, senses. So smell, sight, hearing, you can't have all three. It's obviously a thing of overstimulation that Goji Guy has pointed out. It is true. It also takes up brain capacity as well. Which obviously would limit intelligence as well, but, I didn't really add a lot of intelligence to my, like a lot of high acuity intelligence to my hybrids. Really because it limits the brain capacity and limits our senses. But most people do not go for that kind of realism, so leave it out for now. But yeah, you want to have either good senses, good sight, or good hearing. You can be a generalist, but you can need to be very good at one of those. That's what takes up most of the brain. How to do things. Another thing I'd like to point out is also enhancements. What parts of your animal can enhance the other parts? For example, you have a bison hump on the top of your body. You can connect to, like, say, Pegasus head. This can give it a lot of muscle attachments to the neck to give it a much more powerful swing and headbutt. A very large sternum of a penguin, and say, very long powerful arms. Large powerful muscles from that sternum and muscle attachments would give it a very powerful swipe, which would make it very good. Very good. So obviously enhance the creature. So think about enhancements like that, like anatomical enhancements like that would be very good. Having very beneficial towards it. Another good enhancement would of course be a Spinosaurus sail, which say for a short hybrid could stop things biting at the back. And kind of be almost very light armor, almost like a smaller Spinosaurus sail. Or a Dimetrodon sail. Be almost a very light armor. Could have helped your hybrid. Now, another thing I want to mention, I forgot to mention the energy consumption bit, is do not give your hybrid accelerated metabolism, especially if it's very big. Camouflage, this could really eat up the energy consumption. And this could really dampen its stamina. Especially if it also has fast twitch muscles, which is what I see a lot. This mistake Goody Center made. Accelerated heartbeat, camouflage, and fast twitch muscles would ruin the Endom 2.0's endurance. But he'll never admit it, so be careful when you do that when you're hybrids, though. That could really have severe consequence for its endurance and stamina in a fight. So be very careful about that. But other than that, though, so those basic rules, the rules I told you, you should be fine. The body plan, keep it more or less very similar to your base. Don't deviate from that. Add a bit more to it, obviously, to make it more effective, but obviously keep it very similar. Make sure it's as optimal as it can be. But anyhow, I'd like to thank you all for coming to this video. The topic that someone like Goey Center and Goji haven't really talked about a lot, so I wanted to kind of make my own thing about it to help you guys out. This is a tutorial, so it depends on your realism you want for your hybrid. But it's to help people out, those who are struggling with, realism, how to make the hybrid optimal. But yeah, thank you guys for coming to this video. I'm sorry if my mic is quite terrible. This is my first video, so please show your love and support if you can. Like and subscribe. View the video is also good. And yeah, I'll see you guys in hopefully next video. Oh, and if this video gets to 200 likes, I will make a more detailed video on more hybrid types. But yeah, bye.